All right, welcome to Bearded Baker Banter. This is our NFC AFC Championship weekend podcast where we're going to talk about some games here. Kind of explore the NFC Championship because obviously it's the first game. Then we're going to look at the AFC Championship, which starts at 6:30. So, got Trent on here tonight right now. We're also going to bring Trey on, hopefully tomorrow when he's done with work. To kind of splice up a little bit of the podcast itself. But welcome, Trent.
Hey there, everybody.
So let's take a peek first at the NFC Championship here. We have the premier matchup of two top NFC teams. I mean, if you really want to look at it, these might be the top two teams in football.
Ooh, top two teams in football. That sounds a little biased there.
Mm-hmm.
NFC teams being the top two teams. Oof.
I mean, we'll
how can you not say the Chiefs?
You got a little bit of banged up Mahomes right now. I mean, that's a little bit tough, but
Yeah, you got banged up Mahomes, but you're gonna sit there and say hottest teams. I mean, besides the Niners being on their second longest win streak ever, the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are the hottest team out right now.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment. That's a fair. I'm looking at like I said, let's start with the NFC matchup here with 49ers and Eagles, and we got Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy, which is what everybody's going to talk about here. I mean, the quarterbacks obviously take the cake when it comes to analysis of things with the NFL. You got Brock Purdy obviously starting 7 games. You got Jalen Hurts, who has had a complete turnaround season from last year, where he is now, he started good last year, and now he's really taken his Eagles team to be great. I mean, when you really look at this, it's helped at the fact that they got him key weapon in A.J. Brown, very stud wide receiver, but this isn't the first time that these two quarterbacks have actually matched up, which, unbeknownst to my knowledge here, is they actually faced off in the Big 12 championship their senior year. Jalen Hurts actually had 273 passing yards for 5 total touchdowns. I believe it was 3 passing, 2 rushing. And you had Brock Purdy, who was 282 passing yards with 5 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. What's your take, Trent, on this Niners versus Eagles matchup here?
My entire take is if you can make Jalen Hurts one-dimensional, you have a chance. Okay? If you can force him to have to throw, which, don't get me wrong, the guy is MVP caliber quarterback this year. Which and I'm a Jalen Hurts fan.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
He's a great leader.
But absolutely just a great dude in general. I mean, just a hard worker, takes the challenge of, hey, are you actually going to be this good? No, you're not as good as this guy. It just takes that full, the attitude that you want from players of, okay, things don't go my way. It's not, I'm going to pack it in. I'm going to complain. I'm going to whine. It's okay. No, I'm going to self-evaluate. I'm just going to continue to work my butt off to make myself better. Right. So, but I truly believe if you can make Jalen Hurts a one-dimensional player to some degree, which nobody has been able to do,
right?
But put it on his arm. Put it on his arm. I know the Niners defense is quote unquote, this is tough to say, but they're slightly weak at the cornerback position. Then I think you have a chance, because I think what happens is, as soon as the Eagles' biggest problem they run into is they forget they have Miles Sanders.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can get Miles Sanders anywhere from 15 to 20 carries a game, I truly think everything else is going to fall into place for you.
Interesting.
But the games where I see the Eagles struggle and sometimes even lose is when you sit there and look and you're like, okay, it's halftime. Miles Sanders has 3 or 4 carries. It's like, what's going on? Like, I know you got other backs, but Miles Sanders is the guy.
Yeah.
So, Niners want to win this game. There's your answer. Make them one dimensional. I know I said, okay, give the ball to Miles Sanders. Give the ball to Miles Sanders. I don't think it's going to be easy to run on the Niners defense.
Yeah.
So that's my take. Biggest concern for me is still the rookie quarterback.
Sure.
Rookie quarterbacks in the NFC Championship games, AFC Championship games, have yet to win a game to go into it, from my understanding. So let's see what Brock Purdy's really made of in the biggest game. From here on out, every game is going to be the biggest game of his career. Yeah. So let's see what he's got.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, you're right, and I truly look at it the fact that the Eagles do, the Eagles pass rush has been talked about a lot, having over 70-some sacks, in the entire season. They have, I think, 4 guys with 10 or more sacks. So, everybody's right now like, hey, wow, what is Brock Purdy going to be able to do when you actually get a pass rush like that? And I brought up tonight in a conversation, earlier tonight, I brought up the point that you made last week with the Bengals and the Bills. And how do you protect your quarterback? Like, let's say last week was a Joe Burrow against a Bills defense, right? And with an offensive line that was struggling, or that, and I'm not saying that San Fran's line is going to struggle, but you're going to struggle against, a defensive line like the Eagles. So what are you going to do? Yeah. You're going to take your rookie quarterback and you're going to make him as comfortable as possible. You're not going to make him drop back 5-step drops. You're going to hit screens. You're going to hit dump passes. You're going to hit, little things inside 5 and 10 yards. Because let's be honest, I mean, the Yak brothers don't lie. I mean, and that's what San Fran is you got guys where they have yards after catch. Is get them the ball in space, get some blocking, and let them go make plays. So I truly think that based on what you had said last week about what Burrow's going to do to the Bills with short yardage game, I think that's what Shanahan's going to actually prepare Brock Purdy to do, is say, dude, just get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them go make some plays. That's my take. And I again, I'm very, very biased. I'm obviously a diehard Niners fan. But I do think it's going to come down to running the ball. Christian McCaffrey, okay, he had 1 full practice this week. Mitchell has been out the entire week. He's questionable, with a quad injury or, what are you going to be able to do? I do think Shanahan's also erring on the side of, like, let's rest these guys. Yeah. Let's let them run the ball in the game. And yeah. But I think when it comes down to it, I don't know. Here, one final question about this game, before we get into kind of decisions on betting and stuff. But, like, do you think, Trent, that it's going to be more of a defensive game where you got your number 1 pass rush with the Eagles, but then you also have the number 1 defense with the Niners? Is this going to be like a 19-15 game, or is this going to be like 45-42?
I envision low scoring, and that's what's influencing my pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you at betting wise? Are you taking money line? Are you taking points? Are you taking, like, where are you at with this?
So in terms of game lines right now, you're getting the Niners at plus 2.5 for the majority. But I think if you wait it out tomorrow, if you wait it out early Sunday, I think you're gonna get the Niners around 3. Sure. Even, like, this might be a reach, but I think you're gonna get them at potentially even 3.5.
Sure.
And that's where I start to feel comfortable. Yeah. Where I mean, personally, I know I'm biased in the sense of where I'm going to support you.
Sure.
But
appreciate that.
But I am. But I do think if you sit there and give the 49ers a 3 to 3.5 pointer in terms of spread, I'm going to take them. But in terms of the actual pick that I'm going to make on these lines, I'm actually going to look towards a total.
Sure.
And I think this is a game where I think it's going to go under.
Okay.
I think it's going to go under 46 points.
Sure.
I think Kyle Shanahan, if the Niners are going to compete and win, they're going to do it the run game because that's where the Eagles' defense is vulnerable.
Yeah.
They're vulnerable in the run game. They have great pass rushers up front.
Sure.
They have great ball hawks in the secondary with Slay to pick the ball off.
Yep.
So I think you're going to run, and set up your pass game. You're going to run the pass.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times in the NFL, you hear you set up your run game through the pass game.
Right.
But in this case, I think Shanahan's a running style guy, and
he's an old school dude.
That's what's. I mean, I envision the Niners covering, Niners potentially winning, and if they're going to do so, they're going to hold the Eagles to a limited amount of points. So under 46 is my game line.
I like that. I'm actually on the same. I'm on the board with that. I mean, personally, if I'm going to bet this at all in terms of games, like I just told you a little bit off the air and stuff. I'm not taking San Fran as a dog just because I don't want to put that bad mojo out there, the juju out there. But I'll sprinkle on San Fran's money line at plus 130. But I agree with you. I do think it's going to be the under the 46. I think it's going to be a punch you in the mouth kind of game. And I mean, let's see where it's at. It's go with it. But I'm actually looking too, just in terms of some player props here. I'm going to take Nick Bosa over .025 sacks at minus 165.
Ooh.
I think he's gonna get Jalen. Jalen's gonna get a little happy. He's gonna try to get roll out, and I think Nick's gonna get him at least once. That's where I'm going with that.
I can't. Ooh, with Lane Johnson?
Yeah. Yep.
He hasn't given up a sack in multiple years.
He's also not 100% right now, so.
Oh, okay, that's bold.
That's where I'm going.
That's bold. What was the juice on that?
Odds aren't the greatest. It's like I said, it's a quarter of a sack. So if he gets a half a sack, I mean, you're gonna win your bet. It's minus 165.
Wow. It's impressive. Okay.
So.
I'm going to back to the old well here.
Okay.
And because I think it
quite a phrase there.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go at Jalen Hurts over 32.5 pass attempts.
That's fair.
I really do, because once again, I think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
I even think the Eagles are going to find themselves potentially playing behind.
Yeah.
And I think Sirianni, is that how I pronounce the coach's name? Sirianni. I mean, I like the guy, but then again, I also hate the guy. I think the guy's full of himself.
Yeah.
I can't stand the look at the camera, the mouth, and those types of phrases saying it's like, oh, come on, get a hold of yourself. Act like you're a head coach. So I'm going over 32.5 pass attempts for Jalen Hurts because I think it's going to be a close game.
It's a good one, and I think that also goes back to the point that you also said they forget they have Miles Sanders.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
They just want to just put everything on Jalen Hurts, and I mean that was actually their downfall last year when you really think about it. Jalen Hurts had to do everything. I think this year they've done a better job as a team of saying like, hey, guess what? We have very talented receivers. We have a good running back here, and guess what, Jalen? You can also still roll out. I mean, it is going to come down to the read pass option. And seeing what Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw can actually do, it's gonna be a heck of a game. It's gonna be good.
Absolutely.
So jumping to
I'm surprised it's the first game. I mean, I know it's
so was I.
I know it's East Coast, but that kind of surprises me because that's. I don't know. I mean, I get the build up right now for this Bengals Chiefs game is real, but. First game, I guess you got to pick one. So, hey, it is what it is.
So let's jump over to that last game real quick, and you got Chiefs Bengals. You have a banged up Mahomes supposedly, but he has full practice, full participant, which is nuts because I mean when you really looked at it, And I saw the video today that somebody compared and contrasted with the Tony Pollard tackle and the Mahomes tackle. It was so similar. And I really truly think it was just the amount of pressure that you put on it. To a point where, like, even the NFL now is actually questioning if there needs to be a rule change, which I think is absurd. Because they're talking about a drop-down tackle and you're coming down a certain way. I'm like, how many more rules? How many more rules can you actually make to prevent the defense from ever
guys.
like actually just tackling somebody? You know,
Yeah, it's a risk of the sport.
Exactly, and that's I agree with that.
Does it suck? But this is where also you're running into the idea of money, money, and money. These teams are paying these guys so much money that all of a sudden the guy gets hurt. It's like, wait a second, we just paid this guy all this money. What's going on here?
Yep.
You know, but you can't. I just, that's tough. That's tough. But all right, let's go. Bengals Chiefs. When I look at the lines, oh gosh, I hate this.
Ugliest line ever, and it's actually like dipped and flipped and turned and
completely.
I mean, this line has been nuts. I mean, you want to talk about somersaults on a line? This is it, man.
Yeah. Well, here's the concern for me is the public's money majority is on the Bengals.
Yep, sure.
But the sharp money is on the Chiefs.
Interesting.
So it's like for me, as a Raiders fan, I am 100% ready. I'm 100% cheering for the Bengals. Win, Bengals. Go do it. I will personally, I am not placing a bet on any of the lines on this game. But my insight is this, is if I had to, I'm going to take Chiefs minus 120.
Yeah. That's...
Personally, that's where I just see, hey, you're getting the Chiefs at home. Granted, I get this injury talk, which, to be quite honest with you, I think it's BS.
Yeah.
I think it's a build-up. I think it's that typical Terry Bradshaw gets carried off the field, comes back and does something miraculous. Ben Roethlisberger goes, it's just that typical, like, oh my God, the guy can't do it. But, I mean, heck, they're making Travis Kelce questionable with a back injury. So, like, I'm taking Chiefs minus 120. I mean, the public is on the Bengals, and I don't get me wrong, I hope it's Burrowhead Stadium. However, I'm going to say, hey, I won't be that disappointed when the Chiefs win this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I agree. I think they're making a lot more out of the injuries than what it is. In some sense, I do think Mahomes is hurting. I don't think he's going to be your typical Mahomes. But let's I mean, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but like, let's be honest, like, your not typical Mahomes is still better than a lot of your regular quarterbacks in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, the dude, I mean, he's a magician. I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, it's like the guy can do things that like most people are like, oh, what was that again? I mean, he's gonna have Chris Collinsworth to massage his feet on the sidelines after every single drive, so that'll also help his ankle.
True.
But
even when he throws one into the grass,
dude, I couldn't believe that. Oh, what a pass! What a pass! And I'm like, that wasn't even a pass. That was actually a fumble. Yeah. But that's near there. But I mean, looking at the game, it's very tough, and I agree with you in the sense where it makes me wary from a gambling standpoint of, I mean, the Bengals are the hottest team right now. They are on fire. Joe Burrow is just like championship mentality, man. No matter what you put him in, if you put him in the national championship, you put him in a playoff game, the dude's a winner, and he is cool, calm, collected, like he doesn't get phased. even in the game, you rarely ever see him. His temperature actually flare. It's one of those things where which is to his benefit. So man, and it's tough. Like part of me is like, dude, the Bengals are going, man. Like this is gonna go back to old school '80s Niners Bengals Super Bowl, but I truly think this is gonna be more of a 2000 some rematch, and I think it's gonna be San Fran and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So I do believe the Chiefs are gonna somehow pull this out. I know they're 0-3 last 3 times they played the Bengals, so I think this is not going to be an 0-4. I think they're going to end up being 1-3. But I'm not. Again, this is kind of one of those where lines and everything else. I'm kind of staying away. If I do have to make a bet, though, I'm going to take the Chiefs money line, whatever that line ends up being. But I mean, if I'm looking at an actual player prop, or any prop at all, I mean, you said about Kelsey with his back. Like, let's be honest. Come on, that's not real. I'm taking Kelsey. I'm taking over 7.5 receptions at plus 120, which seems like a crazy amount of receptions, but at the same time, no Tyreek Hill anymore. So Kelsey's been literally the dude all year long. So that's what I would take player prop bet. So, any other input there, Trent?
Yeah, I'm gonna just put this statistic out there: is the Chiefs are ranked 31st in the NFL against number one receivers and their passing yards. So I am all over Jamar Chase on his over 83.5. I think it's up to now. But if you were an early person looking at the lines and the player props, I think it was 82.5.
Yeah.
But take over on Jamar Chase's receiving yards. Big time receivers have big time days against the Chiefs.
Yep.
Simple as that. So I'm going to take Jamar Chase's receiving yards Sunday, on the over. And I actually think right now it's
83.5.
83.5 and damn, up to 135. So, yep, I'm Jamar Chase over 83.5 receiving yards.
Sweet. All right. Any other input on the games? I mean, who's your Super Bowl pick?
Super Bowl pick is, I know it doesn't always match up with my gambling picks, maybe, because I'm picking a little bit here with what I'd want to see, but I think the Niners are going to be able to pull it off in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think what's going to show is, like, don't get me wrong, I think the Eagles roster is as talented, if not maybe even more talented, right, than the Niners. But I think Kyle Shanahan's due. I just really do. I think that experience is going to show.
Yeah. So you got Niners against who?
What's that?
Niners against who?
I got Niners, and then here's my other matchup is I'm pulling for the Bengals.
All right, Niners Bengals. I am going personally. This is actually, I mean, you can vouch for it. I wish I actually had it recorded somewhere else. I'm going Niners Chiefs, and I've actually said this from week 1 this year. Niners Chiefs Super Bowl. I think it's a rematch. I do think that San Fran gets revenge. Somehow, some way. We'll see what happens. But Niners Chiefs is my Super Bowl pick. So, like I said, we'll try to get Trey on here tomorrow to talk a little bit about with his football picks as well. But thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Beer to Baker Banter. Signing off. Stay tuned for our boards and picks tomorrow and our boards and picks on Sunday. All right. Have a great day.
Yes, let's have a weekend.
Let's get it.
All right.